The rain hammered against the black umbrella as I stood before my father's grave in Riverside Cemetery, just outside Portland, Oregon. November had arrived with its characteristic gray skies and relentless drizzle, turning the cemetery grounds into a muddy battlefield of grief. I watched as they lowered the casket, a simple oak box that held the man who taught me how to throw a baseball, how to change a tire, how to be honest even when it hurt. Pancreatic cancer had taken him in 4 months, 4 brutal months of hospital visits, morphine drips, and watching a strong man dissolve into skin and bones. My wife, Jennifer, had come to the hospital exactly twice during those 16 weeks. Both times she stayed less than 20 minutes, checking her phone more than she checked on my father. "I'm sorry for your loss, David." Pastor Michaels squeezed my shoulder, his words kind but rehearsed from decades of funerals. Around us, the small gathering dispersed. Dad's remaining poker buddies, a few neighbors, my Aunt Carol, who'd flown in from Arizona. I noticed Jennifer wasn't among them. She'd texted that morning, "Can't make it, important meeting, sorry." A meeting? On the day we buried my father? The drive back to our house in the Pearl District took 40 minutes through Portland's rain-slicked streets. Our neighborhood was one of those renovated industrial areas turned trendy, exposed brick, coffee shops every 50 feet, and young professionals walking designer dogs. Jennifer had insisted on the condo, said it was an investment. I parked my 10-year-old Honda Civic in our designated spot and rode the elevator to the 4th floor. I was exhausted in a way that went beyond physical tiredness. My body felt hollow, going through the motions. At our door, Unit 412, I slid the key into the lock. It didn't turn.
I tried again, jiggling it the way you do when a lock is sticky. Nothing. The key wouldn't even slide all the way in. My brain, sluggish with grief and exhaustion, took several seconds to process what this meant. I knocked. "Jennifer? Jen, are you home?" Silence. I knocked harder. "Jennifer, my key isn't working." I called her. It rang 4 times before going to voicemail. "Hey, it's me. I'm locked out. Did something happen to the door? Call me back." I waited in that hallway for 20 minutes, calling 3 more times, each time voicemail. I texted, "At the door, key doesn't work. Where are you?" The little check marks showed she'd read it. No response. That's when the truth started creeping in, cold and unwelcome. This wasn't an accident. She'd changed the locks, while I was burying my father. I slid down the wall and sat on the industrial carpet, still in my funeral suit, and let out a laugh that sounded more like a sob. 8 years of marriage, 8 years of building a life together, or so I thought, and she'd locked me out on the worst day of my life. My phone buzzed. My best friend, Marcus. "How was the service?" I typed back, "Jen changed the locks. I'm sitting in the hallway." My phone rang immediately. "She did what?" Marcus's voice came through sharp with disbelief. "I'm locked out, man. She's not answering." "Stay there. I'm coming to get you." 20 minutes later, Marcus found me, still sitting there. He helped me up and guided me to his Subaru. "You're staying with me," he said as we pulled into traffic. "Not up for discussion." I tried Jennifer one more time. This time she answered. "Hello?" Her voice was cold, formal.
"Jen, what's going on? Why did you change the locks?" "I think we need some space, David." "Space? My father just died. I buried him 3 hours ago, and you're talking about space?" "This isn't about your father." "Then what is it about?" "You'll be receiving some documents from my attorney. Until then, please don't try to contact me." My attorney. The words hit like a physical blow. "Jennifer, wait!" She'd already hung up. Marcus lived in a small house in the Selwood neighborhood with cluttered bike parts and his ancient beagle, Barkley. The guest room had blue walls and a futon.
It's not much, but it's perfect, thank you. We sat in his kitchen drinking IPAs, rain pattering against the windows. So what do you think is happening? Marcus asked finally. I think my marriage is over, and I was too stupid to see it coming. You weren't stupid. You were taking care of your dying father. There's a difference. I took a long drink. She said something about documents from her attorney. Marcus's expression darkened. Divorce papers. That night, I lay in Marcus's guest room, my mind spinning through the last few months, looking for signs I'd missed, finding them everywhere. Jennifer working late more often, her phone always face down, the way she'd grown irritated when I talked about my father's treatment, the distance in her eyes. I'd attributed it to stress, but it wasn't stress, it was strategy. The next morning, Marcus handed me coffee and a post-it note with a name and number.
Sarah Chen, divorce attorney my coworker used. I got you an appointment for this afternoon. Marcus, I can't afford. We'll figure it out. First priority is protecting what's yours. Second priority is getting your stuff from the condo. We drove to the Pearl District around 10. The building manager, Diane, listened to my story with sympathy but legal caution. Mr. Morgan, if your wife has filed a restraining order, she hasn't. I just need to get some clothes and personal items. You can supervise. She sighed. 15 minutes. I'll unlock the door, but I'm staying right there. The door clicked open, and I stepped into what used to be my home. It looked the same, but felt foreign. 15 minutes, Diane reminded me. I moved quickly to the bedroom, grabbing clothes, toiletries, my laptop. Marcus helped me stuff things into garbage bags. David, Marcus called from the closet, you need to see this. He was pointing to the top shelf, Jennifer's side, behind a stack of sweater boxes. There's a file box up there. Looks official. My heart pounded as I pulled it down. Inside was a leather portfolio. I opened it. The first document was titled Marital Dissolution Strategy. Below it, pages of bank statements, property assessments, financial projections, all dated over the last 6 months. 6 months! While my father was dying, Jennifer had been planning this. 10 minutes, Diane called from the doorway. I grabbed the entire portfolio. This too. Back at Marcus's house, I spread the documents across his dining table. What I found made my stomach turn. Jennifer had been systematically preparing for divorce for at least 6 months. She'd consulted with 3 different attorneys, comparing strategies. She'd moved money from our joint accounts into one solely in her name, small amounts over time. She'd gotten a new appraisal on the condo, specifically noting that my income had been irregular during my father's illness. There were emails printed out too. One from just 3 weeks ago made me sick. His father's health is declining rapidly. This is our window. Once the death occurs, he'll be vulnerable and less likely to fight. File immediately after funeral. They'd planned it. Planned to destroy me at my lowest point. At 3 o'clock, I sat in Sarah Chen's office in downtown Portland. Her space was neat, professional, with a view of the Willamette River. Sarah was in her early 40s, with sharp eyes behind frameless glasses. She listened to my story without interrupting, taking notes. When I finished, I slid the portfolio across her desk, and I found this. She opened it, and I watched her eyebrows rise as she read. Finally, she looked up. "Mr. Morgan, did you remove this from the marital home?" "Yes, this morning. Is that a problem?" "Normally, yes, but given that you're still on the lease and these documents directly pertain to the dissolution of your marriage," she smiled slightly, "your wife's attorney is going to be very unhappy." "Why?" "Because she's given you her entire playbook, every strategy, every financial move, every piece of calculated timing. This isn't just evidence of planning, it's evidence of bad faith. Any judge is going to look very poorly on this."
For the first time in days, I felt something other than grief and betrayal. I felt hope. What do we do now? Sarah Chen leaned back in her chair. Now we go on offense.
The next 2 weeks existed in a strange, suspended reality. I lived out of Marcus's guest room, my life compressed into 3 garbage bags and a laptop. Sarah Chen moved fast. Within 3 days, she'd filed a response to Jennifer's divorce petition, one that arrived at Jennifer's attorney's office like a legal hand grenade. Your wife violated several provisions of Oregon family law, Sarah explained during a phone call. Depleting joint accounts without consent, denying access to the marital home, timing the filing to coincide with emotional distress, it all demonstrates bad faith. What does that mean for me? It means we have leverage, significant leverage. Sarah scheduled a deposition for Jennifer and her attorney, Gordon Mitchell. I looked him up. Mid-50s, expensive suits, reputation for aggressive family law tactics. The deposition was on a gray Tuesday morning. I arrived early, dressed in my good suit. Remember, Sarah coached me beforehand. You're here to observe. Let me handle Gordon and Jennifer. Your job is to stay calm. She hasn't seen me since the funeral. I know, that's intentional. At exactly 9 o'clock, the door opened. Gordon Mitchell entered first, silver-haired, expensive watch, carrying a leather briefcase. Behind him came Jennifer. She looked different, harder. Her blonde hair was pulled back severely, black pantsuit I'd never seen. Her eyes flicked to me, then away quickly. "Gordon Mitchell," he said, not offering his hand. "I assume you're Miss Chen?" "Sarah Chen. Please sit." Sarah opened a folder. "Thank you for coming. I have some questions about the timeline of events leading to the petition." "My client has already provided," Gordon began. "I'm sure she has, but given some new evidence, I'd like clarification." Sarah slid the portfolio across. "Mrs. Morgan, can you confirm these are your documents?" I watched Jennifer's face go pale. Gordon opened the portfolio, and his expression shifted from confident to barely controlled anger. "Where did you get this?" he demanded. "From the marital home, which my client had legal right to access. Mrs. Morgan, I'll ask again, are these your documents?" Jennifer looked at Gordon, who gave a tight nod. "Yes," she said quietly.
And these notes here that say file immediately after funeral, that's your handwriting? Yes. Can you explain the strategy outlined in these documents? Gordon intervened. Miss Chen, my client doesn't have to. Actually, Mr. Mitchell, she does. This evidence directly contradicts the narrative in the initial filing. The room fell silent, except for rain against the windows. Mrs. Morgan, Sarah continued, did you change the locks to the marital home on the day of Mr. Morgan's father's funeral? Yes. Did you consult with Mr. Mitchell about the timing? Yes. And was the strategy to catch Mr. Morgan at his most vulnerable? A pause. Then, barely audible. Yes. Sarah leaned back. Thank you. Mr. Mitchell, I think we both know what this means. Your client has engaged in bad faith actions that any judge will find troubling. Gordon closed the portfolio. May I have a moment to consult with my client? Of course. They left. Through the glass walls, I could see them in heated discussion. Gordon was clearly angry, gesturing emphatically. Jennifer looked like she might cry. 20 minutes later, they returned. Gordon's demeanor had completely changed. Miss Chen, my client would like to discuss a settlement. Over the next hour, they negotiated. We would sell the condo and split the proceeds 50-50. Joint accounts divided equally, including the money she'd moved. No spousal support. She would cover her own legal fees. It was fair, more than fair. My client agrees, Gordon said finally, looking defeated. Jennifer signed without looking at me once. When it was done, she stood quickly. I'm sorry,
she said quietly. Then she and Gordon left. I sat there, staring at the documents. "David," Sarah's voice was gentle. "You okay? Is it always like this anticlimactic?" "Sometimes. The big battles usually end with paperwork, not drama." Over the next month, the tedious work of unknitting a shared life proceeded. The condo went on the market and we had an offer within 2 weeks. Jennifer moved to Northwest Portland. I stayed with Marcus. We did one final walkthrough together to separate belongings. It was awkward, silent. "David," she said as we finished in the empty living room, "I know it doesn't help, but I am sorry. About the timing. About all of it." I looked at her and felt nothing. Not anger, not love, not even regret. Just emptiness. Why? Why plan it like that? She was quiet for a long time. "Gordon said it would be easier, that you'd just accept it, not fight." She laughed bitterly. "I knew it was wrong, but I convinced myself you'd be so focused on grief that you wouldn't notice." It wasn't clean. No, it wasn't. She picked up her box. "I hope you find someone who deserves you." After she left, I stood alone in the empty condo, then locked the door for the last time. My phone buzzed. Marcus. Beer and pizza at my place. I smiled despite everything. At least I had that. But as I walked to my car, something nagged at me. The documents had been too organized, too thorough. Jennifer wasn't detail-oriented like that. So who had compiled that portfolio? And why had it been left where I could find it? Spring came to Portland slowly. I'd moved into a small studio apartment in the Hawthorne district. Nothing fancy, but mine. The condo sale had given me breathing room. Marcus and I met for our weekly beer at the Horse Brass. "You seem better," Marcus observed. "I feel better." "And the divorce is finalized?" "Last signatures next week." We clinked glasses, but that nagging question still bothered me. "Marcus, doesn't it seem weird that Jennifer would keep all that evidence and leave it where I could find it?" "People get cocky." "Maybe, but it was positioned almost deliberately." That night, I pulled out the portfolio again and really looked. The organization was meticulous, chronological, color-coded tabs, cross-referenced notes. This wasn't Jennifer's style. I picked up one of the emails. The formatting was odd, printed from a forwarded message. Someone had sent these to someone else, who had then printed them. Someone else had been involved. My phone rang, unknown number. "Hello?" "Alicia Rodriguez?" A woman's voice, professional but warm. "Yes?" "My name is Alicia Rodriguez. I'm an attorney. I was hoping we could meet." My guard went up. "About what?" "About your divorce, about that portfolio, and about who really put it together." "I'm listening." "Not over the phone. Coffee shop in your neighborhood. Barista on Hawthorne. 10 a.m. tomorrow?" "How do you know my neighborhood?" A pause. "Because I've been following your case, and because I'm the one who made sure you found those documents." The line went dead. At exactly 10 the next morning, a woman entered Barista. Mid-30s, sharp business attire. She spotted me and walked over. "David, I'm Alicia Rodriguez." We shook hands. She had burn scars on her hands. "You said you put the portfolio together," I said as she sat. "Why?" "Direct. I like that." She pulled out a folder. "How much do you know about Gordon Mitchell's practice?" "Not much. He's expensive." "He wins because he uses a specific strategy, targeting vulnerable people at their lowest points, terminal illness, job loss, depression. He times filings to maximize emotional damage." I felt my jaw tighten. "That's what he did to me." "Yes, and you're not the first." She opened the folder. Newspaper clippings, legal filings, case summaries. Over 5 years, Gordon Mitchell handled 73 divorces, 41 filed within 2 weeks of major life trauma. That can't be coincidence. It's not. It's strategy. My sister Rosa was one of his targets 3 years ago. Alicia's expression hardened. Her husband filed 2 days after she was diagnosed with breast cancer. Gordon Mitchell was his attorney. Rosa was too sick to fight. She lost everything: house, savings, even custody temporarily. Jesus. Rosa's okay now, cancer-free, rebuilt her life, but I swore I'd stop Gordon, so I started documenting his pattern, looking for the right case to expose him. And you chose mine. Your case was perfect: clear timing, documented strategy, and you had strength to fight. I work in this building, had access to certain information. When I saw Jennifer's filing, I knew this was it. So you got copies of Jennifer's documents. Gordon keeps meticulous records. He has a paralegal named Tim Chen who was increasingly uncomfortable with Gordon's methods. I convinced Tim to help. He made copies. I compiled the portfolio.
And planted it in my condo. Tim had a key. Gordon keeps keys to all marital homes. Tim positioned it where you'd likely look. You took a huge risk. After watching what Gordon did to Rosa, I was willing. The documents were all real, all part of the case. I just made them accessible. I sat back, processing. Why tell me now? Because Gordon's furious. He knows someone leaked information. Tim's in danger of facing legal action. I need you to understand that if Gordon asks questions, you found the documents yourself during legal access. That's the truth. And if he presses, he won't, because pressing means admitting his strategy. What happens to Tim? Tim's already given notice, joining a non-profit legal aid. And you? Alicia smiled. Satisfaction and evidence. Your case established precedent. Other victims now have ammunition. You're going after him. Someone has to. I extended my hand. Thank you. For Rosa. For me. She shook it. Take care of yourself, David. After she left, I sat there processing. My divorce had been part of something larger, a pattern of exploitation and a quiet rebellion against it. That evening, over Thai food, I told Marcus everything. So you had a guardian angel, he said. Something like that. How do you feel? Grateful. Alicia gave me a fighting chance when I was too broken to make one myself.
What are you going to do? Nothing about the divorce. It's done. But I think I want to help other people in situations like mine. Over the next weeks, I settled into my new normal. Work, apartment, slowly rebuilding. I even went on a date. One Saturday, I found myself at Portland Legal Aid offices. The receptionist looked up. Can I help you? I went through a difficult divorce recently, was wondering if you needed volunteers, someone who's been through it. He smiled. We run support groups for people going through divorce. Having someone who's come out the other side helps. I'd like to try. He handed me an information packet. Orientation next Tuesday. I took the packet, feeling something I hadn't in months. Purpose. My phone rang. Gordon Mitchell. David Morgan? Yes. I think we both know you obtained certain documents through questionable means. I obtained documents from my own home during legal access. A pause. Those documents were in a very specific location. Are you accusing me of something? Another pause. No, I'm merely noting things worked out conveniently for you, but what happened in your case won't happen again. Good, I said calmly. Maybe timing filings to exploit grief is something you should reconsider. I practice within legal boundaries. Legal doesn't always mean right, Mr. Mitchell. Silence. Then, enjoy your settlement. He hung up. I stood there on the Portland sidewalk, rain falling, and realized I wasn't shaking. That felt like victory. 3 weeks later, Sarah Chen called. Gordon Mitchell's firm is under investigation by the Oregon State Bar. I stopped walking. What? After your case, 3 others filed complaints about his timing tactics. The bar's taking it seriously. How did this happen? Someone compiled a thorough dossier documenting his pattern. Very thorough. I thought of Alicia Rodriguez.
Do you know who? No, and I don't want to know, but whoever it was did good work.
6 months after my divorce finalized, I stood before a group of 15 people in a community center. They sat in a circle, all going through difficult divorces. "My name is David," I began, "and 18 months ago, my wife locked me out of our home while I was at my father's funeral." The support group had become my regular commitment, every other Tuesday, facilitated by Portland Legal Aid. I shared my story, but mostly I listened. "How did you get through it?" Patricia asked. She was in her 50s. Her husband had left for someone younger. "One day at a time. I focused on what I could control. The stuff I couldn't control, I let go." "But weren't you angry?" Michael asked, younger guy whose wife had cleaned out their accounts. "Furious. Still am sometimes. But anger is exhausting. Eventually, you decide spend energy being angry at the past or building your future." After the session, Patricia approached. "Thank you for being honest about how hard it is."
Anyone who says it's easy is lying. Outside, Portland spring was mild. My phone rang. Sarah Chen. "David, Gordon Mitchell's firm is under investigation. 3 other people filed complaints. There might be disciplinary action." How did this happen? Someone compiled a thorough dossier documenting his pattern. I thought of Alicia. That's good news. Agreed. Your case started this. My life had rebuilt in unexpected ways. The studio had become home. Thrift store furniture, plants, a cat named Miso that Marcus convinced me to adopt. Work was good. I'd gotten a promotion. I'd started dating Emma, a teacher I'd met at a friend's barbecue. The divorce had broken me, but forced me to rebuild from scratch. In rebuilding, I discovered strength I hadn't known I possessed. I drove to Marcus's house. He was grilling, Barkley lounging nearby. "You seem good," Marcus observed. "Really good." "I am. Weird, right?" We sat in comfortable silence. "Marcus, I never properly thanked you for taking me in." "You do the same. Still, thank you." The next day, I reached out to Alicia. "Ms. Rodriguez, I'm not sure if you remember me. The Oregon State Bar is investigating Gordon Mitchell. Multiple complaints. I thought you and Rosa should know your work made a difference. Thank you, David." She replied within an hour. "David, Rosa and I saw the news. We're cautiously optimistic. Thank you for having the courage to fight. If you're interested in volunteer work beyond support groups, I know organizations that could use your perspective. Wishing you well, Alicia." That weekend, I visited my father's grave for the first time since the funeral. Riverside Cemetery looked different in spring. Green grass, flowers, the Columbia River visible through trees. I sat beside the headstone. "Hey, Dad. Sorry it's been a while. A lot's happened since you've been gone. Jennifer and I got divorced. She tried to screw me over, but I came through it okay." I picked at the grass. "I've been thinking about what you taught me, about standing up when things are hard. I needed those lessons, Dad. They got me through." My throat tightened. "I miss you. Miss calling for advice. Miss knowing you're out there." I sat for a long time, letting myself grieve. When I stood, I felt lighter. "I'm going to be okay. Just wanted you to know." That evening, Emma came over. We cooked dinner together. She cooked while I chopped vegetables. She laughed at my jokes, asked about my day, listened when I talked about the support group. "You're doing important work," she said. "I don't know about important." "I do. I teach high school. I see what divorce does to kids. Having adults who've been through it and come out healthy matters. You matter." Later, after Emma left, I stood at my window looking at Hawthorne District streets below. Cafes glowing warm, people walking dogs, life continuing its messy, beautiful way. My phone buzzed. Group chat with Marcus and friends. "Marcus, trivia night Wednesday?" "Jake, I'm in." Sarah K. "Only if David's on my team." I typed, "Useless facts are my specialty. See you Wednesday." This was my life now. Small moments, good friends, meaningful work. Not the life I'd planned, but better, more authentic, more mine.
3 weeks later, I got an email from the Oregon State Bar. Gordon Mitchell had been suspended for 6 months and ordered to complete ethics training. The email included, "Your complaint and supporting documentation were instrumental. Thank you for coming forward." I forwarded it to Sarah and Alicia. Both replied with congratulations. That night, I called the support group facilitator. "Would it be helpful if I talked about the legal side next session? Documentation, protection strategies? That would be incredibly helpful." I opened my laptop and started making notes. Resources, legal aid societies, documentation strategies, how to recognize manipulation, how to build support. The work felt right, turning pain into purpose. Emma texted, "How's your evening?" "Good. Planning for support group. Want breakfast tomorrow?" "Perfect. 9 a.m. at Barista?" The same coffee shop where Alicia had revealed the truth. I smiled at the symmetry. That night, lying in bed with miso at my feet, I thought about the journey, from standing locked out in a funeral suit to here, rebuilt, purposeful, okay. Jennifer had tried to destroy me at my weakest. Gordon Mitchell had tried to exploit my grief, but they'd underestimated resilience. Resilience isn't about never breaking, it's about how you rebuild. Marcus texted, "Proud of you, man." I typed back, "Thanks for being there." Always. I closed my eyes. Outside, Portland settled into night, rain starting again, familiar and comforting. The next morning at Barista, Emma was sketching. "Morning," I said, sliding in across from her. "Morning. Ordered you coffee."
We talked about her students, my support group presentation, weekend plans. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Always. Do you think about her, your ex?" "Sometimes, not as much. Mostly I think about what I learned." "Which is?" "That people can surprise you, good and bad. That rock bottom is a foundation. That you can survive things you think will destroy you. And that the right people show up when you need them." She smiled. "Like Marcus. Like Marcus and Alicia and Sarah and you." We walked through Hawthorne, cherry blossoms falling, creating pink carpets on sidewalks. At the corner where we'd part, Emma kissed me, brief, gentle. "Thanks for coffee." "Any time." My phone rang. Tim Chen, the paralegal who'd helped Alicia. "David Morgan?" "Yes." "This is Tim Chen. We haven't met officially, but I wanted to thank you." "For what?" "For fighting back. For making my decision to leave worthwhile. Gordon's suspension, it's because you stood up." "We all played a part." "Maybe, but you were brave when it counted." At work, I opened my laptop and started a new document. Surviving Divorce, a guide for when the system fails you. If my experience could help one person navigate the chaos I'd survived, it was worth documenting. That Tuesday at support group, I presented on legal protection strategies. People took notes, asked questions, some with tears recognizing their situations. Patricia approached afterward. "I followed your advice, got copies of everything, opened my own account, found a lawyer who listens." "How do you feel?" "Scared, but less powerless." That's everything. Once you have agency, you can move forward. She hugged me. "Thank you for being here." Driving home, I realized something. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was thriving. Jennifer had tried to take everything: home, security, dignity. But she'd failed to take resilience, integrity, capacity for growth. The guide grew over weeks, 15 pages, then 50. I shared drafts with Sarah for legal accuracy, with Alicia for perspective, with the support group for resonance. 2 months later, Portland Legal Aid agreed to distribute it. A local newspaper ran an article.
It went modestly viral. I got emails from across the country thanking me, sharing stories, asking advice. One email stood out. "Mr. Morgan, I'm Rosa Rodriguez, Alicia's sister. Thank you for turning your pain into something that helps others. That's the bravest thing anyone can do." If you're interested in speaking to larger audiences about these issues, I'd love to connect you with organizations. With gratitude, Rosa. I replied immediately. Within a week, I had invitations to speak at 3 legal conferences. "You're becoming an activist," Marcus observed. "I'm becoming someone who gives a shit. There's a difference." 3 months after the guide's publication, I stood on stage at a Seattle legal conference, looking at 200 faces. "My name is David Morgan, and 18 months ago, my wife locked me out of our home while I was at my father's funeral." I told the story, all of it.
When I finished, the room was silent. Then applause. Soon everyone was standing. In that moment, I understood. My worst day had been a doorway, not to defeat, but to purpose. Emma and I moved in together. Her suggestion, my enthusiastic agreement. Miso tolerated her with regal resignation. A year after the divorce, I received an email from Jennifer's new attorney. "Mr. Morgan, my client Jennifer Morgan would like to apologize in person if you're willing. Should you be open to conversation, please let me know. Regards, Patricia Hastings." I thought for 3 days, then replied, "Miss Hastings, I appreciate the gesture, but I'm not interested in meeting. However, if she's genuinely remorseful, I'd encourage her to examine why she allowed herself to exploit someone's grief. That self-reflection would be apology enough. David Morgan." The reply came quickly. "Mr. Morgan, your message has been delivered. My client understands and respects your decision. She's begun therapy to address her choices. She hopes you're well." I closed the laptop. That chapter was finished. That evening, sitting on our balcony, Emma sketching while I read, I felt complete peace. Not absence of problems, we had those, but peace in myself. Confidence that whatever came, I could handle it. "Penny for your thoughts?" Emma asked. "Just thinking about how different life is from a year ago." "Better different or worse different?" "Definitely better. Harder sometimes, but better." My phone buzzed. "Marcus, game night Saturday. Bring Emma. Barkley misses you both." "Want to go?" "Always." Simple plans with good people. The foundation of a rebuilt life. Later, I opened the guide and added a final section. Epilogue, moving forward.
If you're reading this, you're probably in the middle of the worst time of your life. Everything feels broken. I know, because I've been there. I stood locked out of my own home on the day I buried my father, certain my life was over. It wasn't. Rock bottom is solid. When everything else is taken away, you discover what remains, and what remains is stronger than you imagine. You won't rebuild overnight. Healing isn't linear. Keep going anyway. Find your people, the ones who show up when it's hard. They're your foundation. Protect yourself legally and financially. Document everything. And most importantly, your pain has purpose. Eventually, what you endure can become what you offer others. Your survival becomes their hope. I'm writing this from Portland, Oregon. There's a cat on my lap, rain against windows, and a life I never expected but genuinely love. It took 18 months to get here. 18 months of grief, anger, fear, hard work, and slow healing. But I got here, and so will you. The locked door wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Keep going. David Morgan. I saved the document. Through the window, Portland slept under familiar rain. Somewhere, people were suffering through locked doors, betrayals, moments of thinking everything was lost. But somewhere else, people were finding the help they needed, standing up when systems tried to knock them down. The work continued, would always continue.
I turned off the lights and joined Emma in bed. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, new moments. But tonight, I was simply here, survived, rebuilt, whole. And that was enough.